Hey everybody, we are here with Herkid 3.0. So, if you're not familiar, QWERTY on YouTube and she's on Insta and a few other places. She hosts a reading challenge every year. It goes from July through June. And it's called the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. Herkid, this is 3.0, so this is the third year. I participated last year in Herkid 2.0. I've got some videos up on my channel about it, so you can flip through. I'm a very analog person. I'm not very digital. I don't do spreadsheets that well and all that good stuff. And so I keep up with my Herkid in my reading book, in my reading journal. Here is the Herkid 2.0. Like I said, I've got a video about it. This is my reading journal for 2026 and 2027. So, 2025, 2026. That's what it is. I started this in June of 2025 when I started Herkid 2.0. So anyways, all that to be said, you can check out more information, QWERTY, QWORDY on YouTube. 3.0 this year, she's got a lot of, basically there's a couple different versions you could do. I'm going in and doing the traditional version. I'm not rolling dice. And I'm not doing the nobody has time for it version. I'm just doing the traditional version with the 25, the bingo board with 25 on it. And excuse me, this morning I'm having my coffee and just getting my day started. And I wanted to get it started in here, so I thought I would jump online with you guys. And we could jump into it together. So, so the idea is that there's 25 prompts on the bingo board, the Herkid bingo board. Each prompt is a different challenge. So it's not just 25 books. Each one has different amount of books, different amount of, excuse me, reading challenges within them. So, so here's my bingo board, and let's just jump into it. I think these are mostly in order. I think just because of layout reasons with my pages, I've switched a couple of them, but for the most part, they're in order, whatever order is. And again, I'm very analog, so I keep up with all this in my reading journal, not in a spreadsheet. And I'm an artsy person, so this allows me to be creative with my reading as well. So the first prompt, and I'm just going to say the first, second, third, whatever, they may or may not be in order. Again, first prompt is choose your party. So this prompt is you read 5 books with the Dungeons and Dragons or D&D feel, the protagonist. So you can choose any of the, I'm not a D&D player, so I really don't know, but any of the characters to create your party. I went ahead and pre-selected just because I know my reading style and can kind of, ones that I can work with. I won't say the easiest, but ones that I can work with. So I chose the cleric, which is a doctor or apothecary type feel. Sorcerer, which is witches, magician. A bard, which is a creative, artist, musician, author. A warlock, which is billionaires. I've already got a penciled in idea, a recommendation from a friend. A druid, which is a religious figure. And so here's my 5 that I've chosen, the party that I've chosen to do. And so when I read a book, what I'll do is I'll write the book in here, in the blank space, and then I'll color in the dice. That's how I'll keep up with this. And then once I get all 5 completed, I'll mark it here, and then of course I'll color in my bubble. So that's the first prompt. Choose your party. Again, I'm not a D&D player, but I just kind of went with the feel of it. So the second prompt, periodic table. You want to read 5 different books with elements in the title. I first started out thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-select my titles. And I wanted to do the periodic table, and I wanted to be able to put the books, into the periodic table. But what I realized is the few that I had selected, the typical elements, silver, gold, things like that, they're all in the same area. So that didn't really work. I was thinking, oh, I'd have gold here and silver here and all that. I'm not a scientist. I don't study the periodic table. So that in itself was a learning lesson of, oh, well, that's not exactly how the periodic table is. So what I've done is created a periodic table-ish. Some of these elements that I knew for sure probably wouldn't be in a book title, I went ahead and wrote them in. Curium, Europium, Yttrium, things like that. But the typical, so 5 different is this tab. I've got spot for 6. And so whenever I read something with an element in the in the title, I'll fill in this little box, like these. And then I'll put the book here and I'll color it in. And I went ahead, this book has been on my TBR for a while, The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keen. Let's see here. Disappearing Spoon and Other True Tales of Madness, Love, and the History of the World from the Periodic Table of Elements. It's been on my TBR for a while, and I thought, oh, what better way to kind of kick off this prompt, this challenge, is to read this. And so I finished this. So I started my Herkid 3.0 a little early, the end of June, because I'm done with Herkid 2.0. I got all but one little box because I wasn't going to read a 600 or 700 page book. I just don't read that big of books. So for all intents and purposes, I was done with Herkid 2, and so I wanted to go ahead and get started. But anyways, so I read The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keen, completed it June 22nd. So that's my little bonus for this prompt. I did that last year. I created little bonuses and extra challenges within the challenges for my own personal things that I wanted to read or knew I wanted to read or whatever. And so that's what this is. So I've got space for 6. If I read 6, that's great. If I just have to read 5. So here it is, ready for, what I've penciled in is chlorine, silver, gold, oxygen, neon, and tin. I think those will be some of the easier titles to find. So yeah, there's my periodic table. The next prompt, I haven't finished it yet. I'm still working in this. Excuse me. Familial terms. 5 different in the title. So that's mother, brother, sister, father, things of that nature. I went with the feminine familial terms: mother, daughter, sister, aunt, and grandma. And as you can see, I've penciled in a frame, and I'm going to somehow draw these characters and somehow label them. My choice, my back and forth was between doing a family portrait idea or a family tree. And so I was back and forth about it, but I decided on the family portrait. I don't know if you can really see it. It's in pencil, but I've got a big frame here and these 5 figures. And so yeah, still working on that one, on this layout. But familiar terms, 5 different in the title. So my sister's keeper, or what's that one by Frederick Bachman about the grandma? Tell your grandmother something. So anyways, that's the prompt for this part of the challenge. And I'm sorry, my air just kicked on, so I'm going to speak up a little bit louder. The next prompt is traipsing through the regions. This could be done on a cultural region, a worldly region, or, regional amongst the states, or regional amongst your state, however you wanted to interpretate that. So I basically traipsed through the regions that interest me. So we've got the Bible Belt, and I've got a book penciled in for this already, Forgotten Girls. I can't think of the author, but it's the setting is in Arkansas, and I'm in Arkansas, and so we've got the Bible Belt, Appalachian, Canada, Pacific Northwest, and Alaska. Those are the 5 regions that I decided I wanted to traipse through. So, and once I figure out, read the book, I'll write it in and I'll color in that area. That's how this is going to be filled out. So 5 books for this. And again, you could have done cultural regions, worldly regions. I just kind of stuck with the United States and Canada and places that interest me. So the next one is choose your own curriculum. I'll admit I kind of got excited about this when she first said this, when QWERTY first threw this title out, because I was thinking, oh, good, so I could pick a subject and read 5 books about it. But that's not technically how she put the challenge together. Which I think, I do a lot of my own personal curriculum, like I'm studying certain things, and I'll read a book about it, or I'll watch a film about it, or something like that. So that when she first said choose your curriculum, I was like, oh yay, I can pick a subject and read 5 books about it. I guess you could do that, but that's not how the prompt was intended. The prompt was intended to read 5 subjects that you would do in school. So this could be any 5 subjects, but I went ahead and chose my subjects. Science, and that could be nature science, medical health, biology, that kind of science, any of those. So I chose science, history, and that could be, historical fiction, nonfiction, history, anything, literature, writing. So like the main character is an author, or a writer, something like that. Health and PE. So this kind of goes with science, but I'm thinking more like sports or active. That's kind of what I'm thinking along this one. Health and PE. Art. So an artist or a creative of some sort is the main character. So those are my subjects: science, history, literature, writing, health, PE, and art. And I've already marked off my science. I read The Body by Bill Bryson. It's a nonfiction. I finished it July 3rd. I love this book. Of course, I'm a nonfiction nerd, and so if you're interested in anything nonfiction about the body, I highly recommend this. Bill Bryson is a great author. He writes a lot of nonfiction, and so he's a good one. So anyways, with this prompt, 5 different subjects, and I decided to go ahead and rate them. I don't rate my books. I don't give 5 stars, 3 stars, anything like that. But I decided, since this was a fun school-related prompt, that I would grade my books. I gave The Body a B+. So here's my rating scale. So that's the prompt for Choose Your Own Curriculum. The next prompt is a road trip. So 5 different states, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she doesn't want you to use New York or California, because majority of books are set in New York or California. So you read 5 books that are set in 5 different places. and I'm going to road trip through the U.S. is my plan. So anyways, when I complete a book, I will write it in here and kind of color in this area, this section. So that's my road trip, 5 different states. Yeah, so not New York and not California. So this page is ready for my reading. The next prompt, take my notes out here. My next prompt is Bookception. So you read a book, and if it mentions a book, you read that book. And then the bonus, or the children's prompt for this part of the challenge, was to read a book mentioned in a TV or a movie. And so I just kind of added it as a bonus for this, because I think that's a cool little prompt. So I'm gonna add it to my challenge. So Bookception, read a book, and if it mentions a book, read that book. So this one I've kind of done, I haven't done backwards, but as I read several books at a time. I'm currently reading The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And oddly enough, this book mentioned The Body by Bill Bryson. And so I was like, okay, that works. And I was in the middle of reading The Body at the time, but I finished it. I'm about 3/4 of the way done with The Psychology of Money. So this prompt, aside from my bonus, is about to be done. But yeah, so this is a simple. Read a book. If it mentions a book, read that book. I did not plan for this book to mention that book. Why would it? It's about money, not about body. But when I was reading it, I was like, hey, I'm reading that. So that's how we're doing for this prompt. The next prompt is cover style. Basically 4 different cover styles. You could do minimalist, maximalist, a movie version, real people, landscape, line art, just no AI. So I've penciled in Caught Up by Navessa Allen. I finished that, was one of my last books for Herkid 2.0. The cover is 2-color bold. So I've penciled it in. I might use it, I might not. Penciled it in as an option. I've read the book, finished it again for Herkid 2.0, but I finished it as I was moving into this 3.0. So I may or may not use it. I haven't decided. But anyways, cover styles. So I've got 4 books here. I haven't decided how I'm going to fill this out. And I might just print out a cover of the book and glue it in, or I might try to draw the cover of the book. I haven't decided. But that's for this prompt, cover style, 4 different covers. The next prompt is Not So Secret. The Not So Secret prompts. These were the secret prompts in Herkid 2.0. I didn't do so hot with that, mainly because I don't follow QWERTY on Reddit or Substack or wherever else she's at, Discord or wherever. I don't follow her there, so I struggled to find all the prompts throughout the year, last year. So I was kind of glad that she brought them into 3.0 so I can complete them. So Not So Secret prompts. This is 12 prompts from Herkid 2.0. Read a book outside, a pun in the title, a book from your childhood, color in the title from Joseph's coat, the Technicolor Dreamcoat, whatever that is. There's a gazillion colors in his coat. So doom scroll basically means you're scrolling around, you see a book you want to read, and you read it. I finished this one, Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. It's fairly new release. I loved this book. It was so cute. Sad, cute, good, all of the above. So that was my doom scroll, because that's where I heard about it, is doom scrolling through social media. Last name is a first name, craft on the cover, or audiobook while crafting. First and last name in the title. I've got penciled in 3 Lives of Kate K, because I started reading that, but I'm looking for my eraser. I started reading this, But before I could get into it and before I could get it finished, my, it went back, my loan from the library went back. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. But first and last name, I obviously wasn't too interested in it, or I would have finished it. All that to be said, I interject here about, I use the Libby app. I do audiobook with my library, and it never fails. I can have 8 books on my holds, and half of them will come available at the same time. So that's kind of what happened with this KK book. So I set that aside and read some others that I was waiting on. All that to be said, first and last name in the title is a prompt. I'll get around to it. I took this to mean like something on your TBR that it's been on your TBR that you've been wanting to read. And I used Caught Up by Nevessa Allen for that one because this book was a prompt in 2.0 that I started out knowing I was going to read in June last year. And I had it on loan from the library twice, and I let it go back, and I just finished it June 30th. Like I said, this was my last book for Herkid 2.0, and so I finally got around to it. I made myself listen to it and get through it and all that. So anyways, I marked that off. Title exact same as another title. You don't have to read both the titles. It just has to have exact same title as another title book. Cover features motion. I read The Compound by Aisling Rao. On the cover, they're swimming. There's 2 people swimming in the pool. So I marked that one off. And then the most recent acquisition, that one's going to be fairly easy to do. So anyways, there's our 12 prompts. And again, you can see whenever I read, I'll put in the title and I'll color it in to complete this. Titular counting. So basically this is the title, like how many words in the title. 1-word title, 2-word title, 3-word on up to 10. So I did this spread, and I was like, oh, I love this, all this and that, but I really don't like it. Because I thought, okay, like on this, I penciled in Mad Mabel. So that's a 2-word title. And then I thought, well, I'll just write the author name here. That gives me plenty of room to, but it don't when you come down to 10. I mean, I can write the title, but where am I going to write the author? I guess I'll just write it off to the side. The same with this. I really don't have a lot of room. So this is all good in theory until it gets down to here. So, and I haven't decided. I've got them written, The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. I just finished that one. That's a 6-word title. I've got them written like that, but I'm thinking more, I want to do more like, so like this is Mad Mabel, like do Mad Mabel, like coming down. And so this would be The Infinite Sadness, like coming down. I think that's how I'll do it. And then I'll figure out a way to add the author. Or I may not even add the author. I may just add the titles. I hadn't decided on that. But I've got 2 in here. Again, they're just penciled in because I haven't decided yet. So this is should be a fairly easy one, I think. Again, it's based on how many words are in the title. So the next prompt, this one I'm kind of struggling with, characters to authors. So the notes I have about this say, characters to author, 3 books. So 1, 2, 3. I'll write them in these little chain links. Character's name becomes author's name becomes character's name. So if you read a book and it has a character, say, this is where I'm struggling. I read a book and the character's name's Kate, then that means this next book needs to be written by a Kate. So character's name becomes an author. The author's name becomes a character. So if Kate is my author, she then has to be another character. So with that, Kate is the character, Kate is the author, Kate is the character of a different book. I don't know that, I mean, I guess that's how QWERTY's got it set up. Again, character name becomes an author's name becomes a character's name, but that makes me using the same name. So again, I'm kind of struggling with that. Because here's where I'm playing around with. So I read The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. My characters are Kate, Harold, Adrian, Edie, and Scout. Those are the main characters. So I would need to read a book with one of these being the author, and I thought Kate would be the easiest. Well, Kate Quinn, I just finished a book which is in Herkid 3.0, The Clinic by Kate Quinn. So I was like, okay, character Kate, author Kate, and in The Clinic there's a character named Meg. And so I think I'm thinking my character's name's Kate, my author's name's Kate, and then in her book she's got a character named Meg, so I should read a book by an author named Meg. But I don't think that's how QWERTY has it set up. So I don't know. That may be how I do it. Character's name's Kate in this book that I read. And so I took Kate, and she's an author. And in her book that I read, her character is named Meg. And so I want to read a book by a Meg. But I just don't know that that's how QWERTY has it set up. Character's name becomes an author's name becomes a character's name. So it would be the same name. Character Kate, author Kate, character Kate. So if that's the case, I've got a character Kate in Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. I've got an author Kate Quinn of The Clinic, and so I need to find another book with the character Kate in it. I think is probably how I should do that. Anyways, so that's where I'm at. I'm struggling with this one, but we'll figure it out. That's the part of the challenge. So the next prompt is, and I can't roll my R's, so Shiritori, which is a traditional Japanese word game. So in this one, you read 5 books. I think this one's going to be another one that's a little challenging. So 5 books in these 5 spots is where I'm going with them. So I've penciled in Disappearing Spoon because I read that for my periodic table bonus. So the idea is, Disappearing Spoon, the last letter is an N. So my next book should start with an N. And whatever that is, say it's the Nightingale, and that ends in an E. So my next book should start with an E. And then, so on and so on. That's kind of how this works. Your next book starts with your last letter. So I just penciled in Disappearing Spoon. I haven't committed to it yet. I think I should be able to find a book starting with N. That should be no problem. So I will probably go ahead and do that and commit to that. But I have a feeling once I get into this, it's going to be a little more tricky. So, so I've just got to keep in mind, I've got to plan ahead for my books on this one, I guess. So anyways, these are both chain prompts. One chains from another. So I did a big chain for these 2 prompts. So next prompt is Herkid 1 and 2 mashup. So you take a prompt from Herkid 1 and you take a prompt from Herkid 2 and you mash them up. So I didn't participate in Herkid 1, but I did use part of Herkid 2 was your favorite Herkid 1 prompt. Well, I didn't do Herkid 1, but I did do the Herkid 2 prompt of the 4 seasons. Winter, summer, spring, and fall. Read a book, with that season in that season. I loved that prompt, but that's only 4 books, so that didn't really help with my mashup because you got to read 5. So what I did was, I'm a nonfiction nerd. I've said that several times. Nonfiction prompt was for was Herkid 2 prompt, read 6 nonfiction. So nonfiction prompt from Herkid 2. And then Herkid 1, I'm going to do the alphabet, but I'm not going to read 26 books. I'm just going to do the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So that gives me my 5. I'm not quite sure this is how the prompt is supposed to be done. It's my understanding possibly that if I chose the alphabet prompt, I would need to read 26 books. I'm not doing that. I'm mashing it up. This is a big old bowl of mashed potatoes, and we're doing nonfiction from Herkid 2 and alphabet from Herkid 1, but we're only doing the vowels of the alphabet. That's how we're mashing up Herkid 1 and 2. I really wanted to do the seasons, but that only gave me 4. And I thought, okay, well, I could do nonfiction from Herkid 2 and the seasons from Herkid 1. That only gives me 4 nonfictions. And then I'd have to figure out another prompt from Herkid 1 that I could do a nonfiction. And I struggled with trying to get this together, and this is what I did. This is where we went with it. I think the vowels are going to be a little hard to find titles with, starting with A, E, I, O, U. I can't use A. That's just another prompt, another challenge for me. So that may be a little difficult to find nonfiction in those vowels. So anyways, once I find them, I'll read them. I'll write them in here, and that'll be my Herkid 1 and 2 mashup. The next prompt is remix, which is a retelling prompt of 5 books, retellings. So I've got stuff penciled in because I can't read my handwriting. Hannah Sandig. I was watching somebody on YouTube, and they were talking about her remixes. So there's Glassgate, which is a Cinderella remix, Wolfgate, which is a Red Riding Hood remix, the Rosegate, which is Beauty and the Beast remix, Frostgate, which is Snow White remix. Those all 4 sounded really good. I think she's got some more, but those 4 sounded good. And then there's Ramon and Julieta by Elena Quintana. Let's see, my handwriting. Alberton. That's a Romeo and Juliet remake. This I had came across as well. So I've kind of got my 5 remixes penciled in. I haven't even looked to see if these come in audiobooks or what. So anyways, I did the prompt, the layout as like a mixtape, a remix tape. And so this one should be kind of fun. I don't read a lot of fantasy, so these may or may not work out for me, but I've got ideas. So there's your 5 retellings for the remix prompt. The next prompt is numerical titles. Here's my 3 Lives of KK. See, I had a good spot for both of those, but and I may revisit it, but we're going to take it out of the penciled spot. Numerical titles. These are 1 through 10, the words in the title. So again, the 3 Lives of KK. That's kind of the idea behind this. I need to probably color this part in. But whenever I read a book, I'll write it in here and I'll color in that book. So 1 through 10 and then any number. So this could be, 1,000,000 or 100 or 55 or anything like that. Any number for your 11th spot. So yeah, here's that for this prompt. No ideas except for, like I said, I had the 3 Lives of KK, but we bumped that out of our options. It's still an option, but we've bumped it off the pencil list. So the next prompt is a rainbow of color words in the title. So this is not the cover like it was in 2.0. This is like the word purple in the word blue in the title. So I've got a few penciled in. Song of Yellow Dragon. I don't know who that's by. I've just got it penciled in. So yellow is in the title. Purple Door District. I've got that penciled in for purple. And Arrangements in Blue by Amy Key. I've got that penciled in. So here's my prompts. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 prompts. So white, yellow, green, silver, purple, orange, blue, red, black, gold, and pink. Silver and gold can also be used on the elements prompt back there. So got to keep that in mind. So again, whenever I figure out the book, I'll write it in here and I'll color in my paint blob. The next prompt is animal families. Of course, this is penciled in. I haven't decided on my layout. I'm kind of doing you got to read 6 books. So I'm kind of thinking of a zoo. I don't know how well you can see this in pencil, but a zoo entrance. And I went with the 6 main families: mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and invertebrate, which are, invertebrate are your bugs, things like that. So I went with a little zoo layout, animal families. We've got a frog hut that will cover my amphibians, mammals, birds, bug house, which is my invertebrate, and then the fish pond. I haven't, of course, colored this in yet, but this is what I'm thinking for my, and then reptiles down here. This is kind of what I'm thinking for this prompt, is to kind of do a little zoo and this little sidewalk all around the zoo. That's kind of what I'm thinking on this. 6 books, animal families, and of course, the way she's kind of got it broke down is that you don't read a feline. Well, I guess you could. Feline and canine, but those are all mammals. So I'm kind of doing a more broad. Mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and invertebrate. That's where I'm going with it. So I'm still working on this one, but I think that'll be fun. And again, whenever I read a book, like on this mammals, this is a fence, and I'll write the book in here and I'll color in that area. Frog hut, I'll write the book in here. Bug house, write the book in here. Fish pond, and color it in from there. But I need to line draw this in and get it kind of set if I decide to do this. So anyways, next prompt is biomes and landscapes on the cover. I'm struggling with how to lay this out. You have to read 6, so to me that's 3 on a page. I've got kind of penciled lines to divide the pages, and my thought process was to do little biomes, to draw little biomes and like draw in like the desert or aquatic or whatever. My other thought was, so the compound is the book I have for this, for desert tundra. And my thought process on this was to print out a copy of the book. So if we had a copy of the book here, the cover of the book, and then kind of, so if I can remember correctly, there's mountains and a desert tundra, and then the swimming pool's here with our characters swimming in the pool. Mountains and desert and all that. So if I print out the cover here and then fill in this like I would carry on the mountains and carry on the, and color it in, and write the date I finished it or whatever. That's kind of my thought process, is again to print out a cover of the book and just kind of draw and finish out the cover. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So here's my different biomes that I've just kind of, I haven't committed to the 6 yet. I'm just kind of leaving this open. countryside, savanna, grasslands, wetlands, tropical, swamp, suburban, urban, woodlands, mountains, forests, cityscapes, tundra, desert, aquatic, rainforest. Those are all your different, there's more, but biomes and landscapes. Just brainstorm them. So I think that's how I'm going to do this layout, is 6 different sections. And I really like the idea of printing out the book and just kind of continuing it, you know, color scheme and all that to fill in the section. So anyways, I've got one of those done for this. I've just got to figure out how to do my layout. So biomes and landscapes, we've got to have 6 of them, and they have to be on the cover. So that's that prompt. The next prompt is your food pyramid. Now, I know this is not a pyramid, and I played around with the idea of doing a pyramid. 5 books, and they have to be on the cover. I went with dairy, veggies, fruit, dessert, and grain. I didn't do meat. I did a vegetarian food pyramid. And I was going to do the pyramid, but I just couldn't make it work when I was playing around with it. So we went with a lunch tray, and I technically should have waited and colored these in when I got, but I was so excited about this layout, and it was so cute. And so I went ahead and colored in my fruits and veggies, and we'll just write the book in when we get that section filled. So, so far I've read one with fruit on the cover, Mattering by Jennifer Brainy Wallace. I completed it July 6th. It has a, not an orange, maybe a tangerine, but I don't think that's, anyways, it's got a fruit on the cover. So I need dairy, veggies, grain, and dessert. Now, the kids version, or the bonus, in my eyes, the bonus for this prompt was your favorite food. And so you got to read 5 for the prompt, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I did a bonus of my favorite food, if my favorite food is on the cover. I don't really have a favorite food. Mexican, pizza, you know, are the most that I eat. So that one's kind of open to interpretation. So, so yeah, there's your food pyramid. That's not really a pyramid, but it's a lunch tray. So that's what we're going with. The next prompt is Acts of Mother Nature, weather, 6 books on the cover, you know, weather event on the cover, different styles. So I'm kind of in the back here. I've already got to read the weather prompt list that I started. I haven't read anything. I've got some penciled in things, but this is kind of this to me. But 6 acts of nature, I'm kind of thinking on the same thing like the biomes with this, 6 different sections. And when I read a book, I'll print out the cover and I'll fill it in from there. So my brainstorming is tornado, fire, earthquake, volcano, rain, snow, sun. And I know she said with the sun, the actual sun has to be on, you know, sunshiny day. Actual sun has to be on the cover. So this one will be fun. I just got to figure out how to do my layout. I've already got the clinic, which has fog on the cover, as an option. I read The Clinic by Kate Quinn. I've got to figure out, I've got to commit to where I'm using this, because I think I've got this penciled in a couple different places. So anyways, so that's this prompt, Acts of Mother Nature, 6 books on the cover. The next prompt is, it's your birthday. I don't recall. I don't know how many she said to do on this one. Let me see if I got my notes. It's not 10. I don't think. It's Your Birthday was 7 prompts. 7 prompts focused around your birthday. So birthstone, month of publication, zodiac sign, things of that nature. My birthday month is in October, so 10. So I did 10 candles. So this is a little more, 3 more than the prompt requires. And I've chosen my prompts. 10 in the title. My air just kicked back on. So 10 in the title, published in October. Air element, because I'm a Libra air element. Fire snake is my Chinese zodiac. October in the title. Birthstone opal. Flower marigold. My tree is ivy. Libra is my zodiac. And my bird is a vulture. So, interesting. But I've got 10 candles, and when I read them, I'll write the title in and I'll color my candles in. I've got a couple of penciled in. A house with good bones has vultures on it. Insects, ivy, and investigations. I assume I put that on here for ivy. Best exotic marigold hotel for marigold. And the great stewardess rebellion, Libra justice. So I've got those 4 penciled in as ideas for books to read for those prompts. So anyways, there's my birthday layout. The next prompt is backlist authors. So I already kind of do that. Back here, I've got my backlist authors here. Kristen Hanna, Jodi Picoult, Octavia Butler, Elizabeth Gilbert, Frida McFadden, Carlene Hoover, S.A. Cosby, Lucinda Berry, Christina Lauren, Cy Montgomery, Abby Jimenez, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Mary Roach. I've got backlists already. And so 5 books. You got to read 5 books on this. I think technically she said the prompt is 5 books from the author to like clear out your backlist, or you could mix it up. My initial thought was Elizabeth Gilbert. She's my favorite author. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. And I thought, well, I'll start with her. And these are all the books she's written. Pilgrims, Stern Man, The Last American Man, Eat, Pray, Love I've read, Committed I've read, The Signature of All Things, Big Magic I've read twice, Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It, City of Girls I've read, All the Way to the River I've read. So she has 5 on here that I have not read. Pilgrims, Stern Man, Last American Man, Signature of All Things, and Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It. So I could do 5 by her and complete my backlist on her. Or I thought, since I can mix it up, I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll do 1 from each of these backlist authors. I have Kristen Hanna, Lucinda Berry, S.A. Cosby, Elizabeth Gilbert, Mary Roach, and Taylor Jenkins Reid. That's 6. But so I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet. But this layout, I'll probably do like I've got my other layouts, author and their list and all that of the books I'm going to read. So I haven't decided how to do this layout because I haven't decided if I'm doing 5 books from one author or 5 different authors that I already follow. You know, I could easily do like S.A. Cosby. Well, he has 4 that I haven't read. Lucinda Berry has 5 that I haven't read. Abby Jimenez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I haven't read. I could complete her. Cy Montgomery, this is not an extensive list. This is just the list of ones that I was interested in. Christina Lauren, there's still 4 or 5 that I could do on that. Taylor Jenkins Reid, I've only read 1 of her books and I loved it, and so I could easily use her as a backlist because she's got a lot of good ones. Kristen Hanna, I've read a couple by her. Same for Jodi Picoult. So I've got options. I've just got to commit and make up my mind, and whatever I do, I'll decorate accordingly. I'm really going towards 5 books from one author because that's kind of the idea, is to check off your backlist. So that's probably what I'll do. I've just got to decide on what author I'm going to do. And then I'll do the layout from there. The next prompt is, I must endeavor to acquire creatures, pocket monster, Pokemon vibe, the vibe of the book, or cover and title, whichever. 5 books. The way I'm going to do this is, here's my brainstorming. Bug, electric, fairies, fire, grass, dark, flying, dragon, psychic, ice, steel, poison, ground, rock, ghost, water. Those are my brainstorms on the, again, the vibe of the book or cover and the title, whatever. I think I'm going to do, I haven't decided if I'm going to do balls or cards. I'm still playing around with that. And I think it probably will depend on, I probably should commit to 5 of these and do my layout. But there's so many and they're so flexible. So I hadn't committed yet, but I'm probably, like I said, I can either do cards, you know, the little creature collective cards, or I could do the balls, the little red and white balls. I haven't decided yet. I'm not a fan, so I really don't know a lot about. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go with it, kind of like I did the D&D choose your party prompt. So still working on this prompt. Anthology of authors, 1 book of short stories with at least 6 authors, and then read a book by each of those. So I haven't decided, how to do this layout. My notes say big book, anthology, pages falling out for different books. So I need to read an anthology, which is a book of short stories-ish. I'm not a fan of short stories. And then it has to have at least 6 authors, and then 1 book by each of those authors. So that's 7 books. I've penciled in, or I've created, my notes here say, there's a 14 days anthology, and it has all these authors listed, and some of them I was very familiar with: John Grisham, Margaret Atwood, R.L. Stine, Scott Turow, Sylvia Day. So I thought, okay, this may be the anthology that I read. So I've got that in there as an idea. And again, I haven't decided how to do my layout just yet. I feel like I should do the anthology on here and all the 6 over here, but a whole page for 1 book is a lot. And maybe I'll do the book and then list all the authors in it and then pull out from here. I haven't decided. So anyways, anthology of authors is the next prompt that I'm still working on. I think this is the last one. Yes, this is the last prompt. Second chances or hidden gems. My notes say TBRs, DNFs, 1-star reviews, less than 100 reviews, or an ugly cover. Basically, this is giving a book a second chance if it's something that you've DNF'd, or something that has low ratings on Goodreads or whatever. You can give it a second chance. Or hidden gem, a book that you've found, came across, you weren't expecting, whatever. So you got to read 5 of them. And so I'm going to do little gems, gemstones, and kind of like I did the dice in the D&D prompt. And then once I read the book, I'll color it in. So this is still a work in progress as well. But that's kind of what I'm going to do, is the hidden gems, and do 5 gems. So that is all. That is the prompts for Herkid 3.0. They're all here, and there you have it. I'm kind of excited. I've already gotten started on this. Again, I've got work to do in my analog version of how I'm keeping up with this. I've still got some layouts to do, so I'm still working on it. So yeah, but I'm excited to get started on this. Again, I've already started reading a couple of books, and looking forward to seeing how this plays out. This will finish up my reading journal. So this reading journal will go through June of 2027. I haven't decided on my 2027 reading journal if I'm just going to do a bingo board to carry it over. Basically, though, I'm going to be working in 2 books for 6 months. So anyways, that's where I'm at with this. Again, I'm very analog. Try to be creative in my reading challenges. It gives me a motivation to read and to be creative. So this is what's working for me. Anyways, be sure and check out QWERTY on YouTube and wherever else she's at. I know she's on Instagram and YouTube. That's where I kind of watch her. But check her out if you're interested in jumping on this bandwagon. It's just getting started, so not too late. And you don't have to do all this elaborate stuff. She's got spreadsheets and all that stuff on her website and links and all that. So if you would rather keep up with it that way, you can. Anyways, just wanted to share with you guys, and let's get started on this next challenge. Bye for now.